This is the start of an anime character tournament. Here are the groups. Today we're going to be going into the main protagonist group, this first one right here, for our starting duel, Atem versus Jaden. I figured it might as well be the best way to start this off. So, here are the deck lists. We're going to talk a little bit about them and then head right into the duels. So, if you're not used to anime garbage, maybe this looks incredibly wrong to you, because you see spell cards up here. Well, I'll have you know, these are treated as effect monsters while face down on the field or in the graveyard. If you don't remember these guys, these were the legendary dragons that were used in the Waking the Dragons arc that could fuse with monsters, spells, or traps and were their own fusion spell. Don't really worry about it, it won't come up too often. If you're very astute, you may note, hey, Critias was used by Kaiba. Why is it in here? Well, I mean, we kind of wanted to make sure that the decks worked, and if we're going off of technical rules, then Legendary Knight Critias would have had to have been in Yugi's deck for him to turn the dragon into the human. It's really weird. Sometimes we have to make exceptions for anime deck building. In fact, let me get into that generally right now. So, you kind of see a lot of stuff from a lot of eras. You see, you know, the classic Dark Magician, the Summoned Skull, the Curse of Dragon, Gazelle, and, where is he? Baphomet, into Chimera, you know, the classics. And then you have the Waking the Dragon stuff that I just talked about. You have weird Duelist Kingdom era jank like Dark Sage and technically Time Wizard, because he gave it to Joey, so he's able to run it. So he gave it to him because it's funny. And it's technically accurate because it's a card he owned. That is why we're going to count it. That's just what it takes. And then we have to keep in mind the iconic cards, like the Egyptian gods. I know Ra is more of a Merrick thing, and Obelisk is more of a Kaiba thing, but he has all three of them, so he should have all three of them. Relay Soul was used in his final duel against Darts. Magical Hats is just goofball. It's iconic, people know what it is. Karibo, of course, even if it's not that good. Berserker Soul, even though it never comes up, it leads to one of the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Clips on YouTube right now of Doro Monstacardo, which is the name of the video, and I feel bad for pronouncing it every single time I say it. But also Card of Sanctity for anime-exclusive cards, and Anime Relay Soul, and Old Mirror Force, that sort of thing. There are a lot of iconic cards in here, and we kind of balanced this around 60 cards just to put in as much as we could into a main character deck. Some decks just don't have the ability to go to 60 cards, so we don't put them there. And we just kind of wanted to load it down with a bunch of cool stuff that you've seen from all over, like, hey, he used that against Exodia, and like, Magician of Black Chaos. This previously had Blackluster Soldier in here, but we have BLS Envoy, which is in his canon deck that he gives to, around to, like, museums and stuff in GX, which is also where we get Dark Magician of Chaos. So, there are a lot of deep cuts here. These cards really feel like Yugi cards, but technically aren't within the mainline series. Isn't that crazy? That's absolutely insane. The fusions over here, we've got a lot of what you expect. A lot of things are not summonable at all, but he had to have had them in his deck for very weird things that happened in the anime. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer them down below in the comment section. But this is overall a very well put together deck. Some of the nice highlights are Legend of Heart, which is a one-card OTK. You'll be able to see that in one of the duels, I'm sure. Card Destruction, Graceful Charity, Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, and Change of Heart, just for being generic, really good spells that you know about. Card of Sanctity, each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. Brain Control, but you don't have to pay life points, and there's no qualifications on it. No erratas here. Bounce Spell just steals any spell the opponent has and activates the effect of it. This works sometimes. I don't know if it's an EDO Pro thing or if this card is just actually jank. It's like Mystical Ref Panel, how people always thought that that card would be broken. And also, Relay Soul with an Egyptian God. This is a very strange interaction I could probably make a video about, but it is a cool one. You know, if your life points become 0, summon a monster from your hand, and you can't lose the duel unless it's destroyed. It gets transferred if you fusion, synchro, exceeds, or tributed for a tribute summon. So yeah, you can link this away, and now you physically can't lose the duel, but Atem doesn't have links. So what he does is, he sends out an Egyptian god, and all the gods go back to the location they were special summoned from during the end phase. This leads to them going back to the hand. And if you want to know cards that can destroy things in the hand, it's this. It's just a banned card. You're screwed. There is no chance. So this is an alternative win condition for Atem. Is it janky? Absolutely. Does he have a lot of damn near completely unsummonable monsters? Like, if you draw any of these, they're just dead cards because they can't be normal summoner set and you need a specific card that needs a warrior, of which there aren't that many, but there are enough, I guess. There's Big Shield, this, that, the other thing. So, in essence, we have ourselves a very iconic Yugi deck, built to be about as iconic as it could be, while also making sure that we don't have a bunch of ridiculous stuff like Underworld Circle, for instance. Destroy all monsters on the field, banish all monsters in both players' decks. You don't need to read any further. I'll be honest with you, you don't need to read any further. Let's go to Jaden. So this is Jaden, my absolute boy, my son. I love him. If you're wondering why my name is Jada, it's because I love him. I love Jaden. He was an inspiration and also a bit of a crush to me growing up. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Jaden's just a really cool dude. He's just the best character in any of the Yu-Gi-Oh series. You can absolutely fight me on it, but besides all the bias, I had to give the same general ideas. You know, we've got the jank like all the normal monsters, of course. We have to be able to have every single elemental hero, and this is a good time where we can bring up the extra deck ideas that we bring in. If they played a card, they get it in there. Like, all these cards, Jaden played, and so we didn't want to say no to him. And if you're wondering, yes, he did play Ojama Knight. It's weird. And yes, I am counting the completely canon movie that is Bonds Beyond Time, and it is canon. That is 100% fact. So just to note that, before anyone says it, Bonds Beyond Time is canon, Elemental Hero Neos Knight goes in here. I mean, if you or Jack needed the cards, I would have put in, like, the Assault Mode stuff from the OVA, if they didn't already play 60 cards, so canonicity doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of we're not giving them manga cards, because the only anime appearances. You gotta move with the pictures. So, we've got some jank here, we've got all of the fusions to make them somewhat worth it, and if we're talking jank, we have Nex and Metamorphosis, and calling Metamorphosis jank is ridiculous after having any knowledge of GOAT format, but it is really, really good. It's not really good in this deck, where you kind of have, Anime Wingman, who, by the way, you know what the difference is? He's level 8. You, can Metamorphosis into him from nothing. Nothing at all. It's not a fusion summon. It doesn't matter. In real life, he's a level 6, if I remember correctly, so also you can do it with nothing. And nothing. It's kind of ridiculous. Metamorphosis only really exists to go into Neos Knight, or, of course, our boy Neo Bubble Man, who is a fusion in the anime. Yes, indeed. Some notable cards include all of the staples like Pot of Greed, Mirage of Nightmare, Monster Reborn, Graceful Charity. Mirage is even better because of the, where is it? Emergency Provisions? Super Polymerization is not the best in this deck because he doesn't have Omni Heroes. But if he just needs a little bit of quick play during the battle phase stuff, he can do it. So that's something at least. Effect Shut is really good. It's just an effect monster negation as a quick play spell. Crossheart is a permanent steal, which you really cannot discount in these kinds of tournaments. And honestly, Wildheart, a lot of traps are actually really good. Like, sure, I can talk about Mirror Force and Subspace Battle and that sort of thing, but Wildheart is like a sleeper hit. Oh, and Anime Bubble Man, because if it's the first turn, you just normal summon it, and he is Elemental Hero Pot of Greed. That is all he does. He serves a very good purpose. Other ones include Miracle Contact, so if a lot of Neospatians have died or anything like that, and you have Neos in your, like, on the field by some miracle, or if you've sent it off Graceful, or anything like that, you can go into one of the Neos fusions and possibly attack for game. Solemn Judgment's also good. I feel like almost all of these cards you'll be able to pick out if you've watched GX all the way through. From, like, specific duels. I mean, Skyscraper is all of them for, like, the first 15 seasons, it feels like. It feels like he just opened Skyscraper like it's always in the duel disc. That's what it always feels like. So I feel like this has been going on a bit too long. Let's go into the duels. So in our first duels, the opening hand's looking pretty alright from Atem, you've got some draw power, you've got some searching, you have Multiply in the anime, which, by the way, summons things from the void. I'm sure we'll be able to see that in a little bit. And Relay Soul, which we have said is broken. And a big booty, big shield Gardener. Jaden just kind of has a Solemn Judgment. So this is not looking the best for Jaden off the rip. And we get Breaker to try to out something. That's just always good. Breaker's going to be able to just hit over the Miracle Fusion, which is honestly a really good out for a lot of Jaden's bad boards. Neospatian Grand Mole, I'm going to turn this to be a little bit slower for a second. Grand Mole is going to attack into the set monster, because attacking into Breaker is not going to be the best right now, because he'll just get his counter back and that'll destroy another spell or trap on the field. So, what we do is just set a big shield Gardener, and we attack with Breaker. That's all fine, that's all dandy, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But Jaden doesn't really feel like waiting, so just bounces back the Breaker, which I just said was a bad idea, but now we're on a different paradigm where Summon Breaker flips Solemn Judgment. Sometimes if you're just in a bad position, you gotta make sure you just don't keep getting your ass beat. That's just kind of how it goes. That's just kind of how it has to go. Grand Mole's going to attack into the big shield Gardener, that's all fine. There's still cards on the field that are pretty much never going to go off, so this newly drawn Bubble Man does not matter, unfortunately. We're going for the good old-fashioned Sangan beatdown into Card Trooper, which is actually going to be able to do something. This was a horrendous mill. Like, Dandelion, unfortunately, it's only if it's destroyed by battle. And yes, this is a Jaden card, in case you wondered. It's not just a Link Spam card. It is a Jaden card, but it's not really Link Spam in Jaden's deck, because it has to be destroyed by battle. But milling that Pot of Greed is definitely not the best. Sengen's going to grab Curry Bandit, which is also way better in the anime than in real life. You just tribute it at any time, draw 5, and then send all monsters, instead of picking a spell or trap, which I believe it is in real life. I'm so used to this one after playing a lot of Atem. So now we Brain Control Card Trooper, we mill the 3, and then Chain Multiply. No reason to do it in this other than make Chain Link 2, which is funny. And we get to summon 4 Card Troopers from absolutely nowhere. They don't come from anywhere, they just exist. They will go to my graveyard, even though I copied a card that was stolen from Jaden. That's, yeah, this one is still the real one. These are the copies. We see Neo Bubble Man. Jaden already sees that there's no way he's going to win, so might as well just get an MST out there. I was hoping to just Relay Soul for memes in case anything went wrong, but there is no way for this to go wrong. And I even get the card draw effects because they're real and in the graveyard. Isn't that ridiculous? So Card Trooper's gonna mill 3, and then Card Trooper's gonna mill 3. I've gone through almost over half of my deck, like a good amount half of my deck, to be able to do this. And we take game 1. That is a success for Atem. Game 1 goes to Atem. Alright, and in the second game, things are looking a lot better for Jaden and a lot worse for Atem. Atem has a pretty high-statted monster in Skilled Dark Magician, which is actually really good in these sorts of tournaments with character decks. Sometimes it's just stats. Like, we're not talking about, oh yeah, can you build a board that can only be outed by Dark Ruler evenly? Sometimes just getting a big enough monster, even if it has, like, no effect, like, this effect doesn't happen very often, but, you know, it's a good one when it does. 1900 attack's just good, but we look at Jaden and we see Elemental Hero Pot of Greed, we see Graceful Charity, we see Piercing to out something and maybe deal some clutch damage near the end, and we have Miracle Contact. A little earlier than you'd want to see it, but still a good card. Let's see what goes on here. Atem is going first, and this is all that he can really do. Unfortunate. Graceful Charity is played, but Bounce Spell is going to be chained in response, so it steals it, and then proceeds to draw 3 and discard Dark Magician and the Winged Dragon of Ra. But also, it does not negate the effect. It just brings it over to your side of the field. I have no idea why. It's balanced, so that if you have 5 cards in Spell and Trap Zone, you can't do it, I guess. But yes, this will work with other cards that stick around, like Continuous Spells, Field Spells. They will stay on your side of the field. So, if he ever goes up against Crowler, you can take that. You can just take it. You can just take your town. That's all. So, Graceful Charity is going to play out on the opponent's side, and this third spell counter is unfortunate because we actually see Flame Wingman come out. Like, genuine Avian Burstinatrix into Flame Wingman, which is ridiculous. Atem's going to go for Time Wizard, which unfortunately hits the 50% of not instantly killing Flame Wingman. That is unfortunate. Neospace is just there for no real particular reason. You know, we're just kind of hoping for Mirage and Nightmare over here, and sometimes it's just easier to put things on the field than in the hand. We're going to set Big Shield Gardener over here, and Wild Heart's just going to be down here purely for the sake of attempting to do something. Flame Wingman's going to attack. It doesn't matter. It bounces off. Wildheart goes in, and Bubbleman goes in. So, we have the Relay Soul. Do we have an Egyptian God? Not yet. We can try to find the way out. Swords Revealing Light is going to stall for 3 turns, making them unable to attack. So we're just going to set up and bring some, just put some monsters on the field. Gonna tribute for Dark Magician Girl, which, yes, was actually accounted for by discarding Dark Magician, just to make sure that if this ever came up, it would be 2300 and would be able to beat over Flame Wingman, because 2000 and 2100, that's just a big break point for a lot of Jaden stuff. So, Neo Signal's coming down, the Swords is already gone, but Atem is already on the upper hand. We have Multiply again if we need to just multiply a bunch of Karibo. Unfortunately for Atem, Neo Signal brings out the Neospatian Grand Mole, which just means that we're going to have to Magical Hats! So, what's attacking? Nothing to attack yet, so no attack redeclaration. Smartman unfortunately guesses it immediately. So Dark Magician Girl goes back, but we at least don't die. Berserker Soul and Ragnarok are bad cards that we don't need right now, and will not help us win the game. So we just set Gazelle, King of Mythical Beasts. Grand Mole's going to bounce back Gazelle, and then Sparkman's going to attack, and we're going to Karibo just to give ourselves one more turn to try to get a better target than Dark Magician Girl. We get the Claw of Hermos, which is not a better target than Dark Magician Girl, so we're just going to pass. Grand Mole does the exact same thing, the turn plays out exactly the same, except this time we flip over Relay Soul, bring out Dark Magician Girl! Yes, that's actually what Relay Soul was doing. Like, that's what it did back in the anime. It summoned Dark Magician Girl. So when this dies, just for everyone viewing, when this dies, I die. That's how that goes. So, Dandelion tokens, and I remember at this point I was saying, "You're not about to summon Blade Edge, are you?" And Jaden replied with, "No, I'm going to summon Edgeman," which is a funny Japanese joke, I guess, but it wasn't funny at the moment, because now my Mirror Force and Multiplier are gone, and Dark Magician Girl dying means that I have lost the game. So, that is 1-1, Atem and Jaden. Replay number 3, this is game 3. Let me swap it back over just to put us with Atem again, which is our main viewpoint. I don't want to confuse people. So, Breaker's pretty good. Change of Heart is great going second. Unfortunately, we are going second here, which is pretty nice. And then Graceful Charity, you can't ever say no. We even have the 2 cards that we can discard because we're never summoning them. On Jaden's side, we have Prisma, which, by the way, is level 5 in the anime, in case you didn't know. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. A hero emerges, which is pretty good when you have a few things that you don't want to actually summon. This should be the anime version. This is incorrect. We will change it. It did not matter in this game, but that should be the anime version. Some things will just be added to or addended at later dates. Regardless, Graceful Charity, we're going to actually send the Buster Blader and the D-Mox so that we can do something with it. Spell Striker is going to be stolen, and this was a calculated maneuver because I figured that everything Jaden had is a warrior, like almost everything. If it was Card Trooper, you would have just put it in attack mode. Like, you would have just milled the 3 and gone off with your day. But no, it's probably a set warrior. I was thinking it was like a Clayman or something. So, Spell Striker gets stolen, and Legend of Heart is played, which pays 1,000, tribute a warrior, and then banish the 3 legendary dragons, summon their knight forms, and destroy Seals of Orcalcos, which doesn't matter. Breaker, which I could have done first, that's a bit of a misplay, just in case of Solemn Judgment negating Legend of Heart. Hero Lives is going to bring up Prisma, that's not going to do enough. Unfortunately, Yubel is not brought out. That would have genuinely helped quite a bit. And then, just because this is super confusing, Tamias has the effect of, you contribute 1 or more monsters you control, and that's how you bring out the fusion. Must be special summoned when Tamias tributes 1 or more monsters you control. Special summon it from your extra deck. Its attack and defense becomes equal to the combined attack of the tributed monsters. Usually it's supposed to be the 3 legendary knights, but I decided to put in Breaker just because you're at 800 and 10k right to the dome. That is game 3, won by Atem. That's a 2-1. Let's keep her going. This is the game 4 match point. So let's see what we're going with. We have Curry Bandit, the Tricky, Sangan, Awakening from Beyond, and 1 brick. This is what you could probably call, like, top 10 percentile Atem hands. Curry Bandit makes it that way, but Tricky has a follow-up and Awakening Beyond, just to make sure that you can get the Curry Bandit back from the graveyard. That is very important. Jaden has Elemental Hero, Pot of Greed, Glowmoss might be able to stall, Space Gift is pretty okay, and Dark Panther, it can do something. Depends what's on my field. It can take the effects of Egyptian gods, which is poggers. We're going to send a lot of things, and unfortunately we send Tamias. What's necessary about that is that we actually drew Legend of Heart, and we run a good amount of warriors in our deck. It has to summon the knights from hand or deck. It can't summon from the graveyard. So now this is either completely useless, or we can use Awakening from Beyond just to get Timaeus back and do it all over again. Dark Panther's just going to be summoned. I would have thought it would be Bubble Man, but I don't understand. I feel like there was just a lack of understanding on if we were going to do this. Like, if I was going to be aggressive or not, but now that I see the Bubble Man's in there, that was certainly not the best play to make. Card of Sanctity is off the top. I would love to draw it. I would love to draw it. Neospatian Glowmoss is so bad. I can draw it, or I can send the top 2 cards of my deck to the graveyard if I don't want to draw it. And it's kind of just monsters to stall. That's about it. So what I did is summon Obnoxious Celtic Guard, go Card of Sanctity, let me just draw a bunch of cards for you, Card Destruction just to get everything else out of my hand, let me Pot of Greed just to draw even more cards, Awakening from Beyond to grab Timaeus, Legend of Heart because this is a warrior. Let's go, Hermos, Critias, and Timaeus! Dark Magic Curtain. Pay half the life points just to get Dark Magician of Chaos. I'm sure you could hear the dog barking in there, but I'm not going to stop because this is the absolute end of it, and I'm done recording. This is like a... I don't care. Some of my other videos are a bit more, but this is just Legendary Knights doing Legendary Knight stuff. Bye! That's how you do it. Better let the dog in. Also, yes, if you're wondering, the dog is very cute. Here's a picture of her. She's a little Chiweenie. I love her so, so much. I mean, well, she's my wife's dog, but... You know, I'm kind of the step parent here at that point. That's how I think of myself, but like as a good step parent, you know, not like a Disney one. Regardless, it appears that Atem has beaten Jaden 3-1. That means that Jaden's going to have to do a little bit more work to actually do something in the rest of this tournament. Let's see how that turns out, and let's also see, well, who else is going to be in it. I'm sure y'all could see from this whole shebang going on over here, but we've got a lot of iconic characters equally represented from each and every series aside from Vrain's, which is broken. Vrain's characters are just broken. If I had to go into any other deep dives, it'd be Ghost Girl, who just runs almost meta Altergeist with Twin Twister and Infip. Nope. I don't think any of these decks can take that down. In fact, I am certain of it, because I do a lot of these tournaments over on my streams. Go on ahead and check those out. Go on, just the link's always in the description. You can always check it out. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Even though it was a little bit scuffed and a little bit off the cuff and different from the rest of my content, I feel like it's pretty alright. Regardless, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye!